welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to make buttermilk crackers. We're testing out this recipe, so when we do that, we need to get the weighted amount for our ingredients. So I'm going to use the scale. Our recipe calls for 2 cups of self-rising flour. So we're going to figure out how much that weighs and get an accurate amount. Weight measurement is much more accurate than using measuring cups, measuring spoons, even a liquid measuring cup. Everything by weight is usually the best way to do a recipe, especially in a professional kitchen. And then we're going to do a cold cut-in buttermilk. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can bring you more recipes. Thank you. Our butter into cubes, and we're going to keep it cold. So once I cut it, I'm going to put it in the freezer while I get the rest of our ingredients ready. Here we have our flour, salt, and we're going to add in our cold cube butter. Mix it together. It probably takes about a couple of minutes. We want to get it to resemble sand. So that's the cut and butter method. We're going to turn the machine on and let the butter cut into the flour until it resembles sand. So that takes a couple minutes. Now we're doing cut and butter method. So if you notice, I've been paddling the flour, salt, and butter together. We still have a couple of larger lumps. So I want to keep mixing it until all of those butter lumps are very, very tiny and resemble sand. Okay, so now you can see that this resembles sand. And we're going to add in our buttermilk now. All right, so I'm just going to pour this in while it's stirring and wait for it to come together. As soon as the batter comes together like this, you know you're done. So I actually had to add more. It wasn't coming together, so I ended up putting 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk instead of a 1/2 cup. So depending on the humidity, you might have to adjust. So this time I added 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. All right, so we have our piece of parchment, and I've already dusted it with some flour. If you don't have parchment, you can just do it right on your counter. Here's our packet of buttermilk cracker dough. You let it rest in the refrigerator, and if you can let it rest an hour minimum is good, or you can even let it rest overnight and do this the next day. So we want to roll these nice and thin. We're making crackers. So here's our dough. We're going to put it and just gently roll it back and forth, and then you want to rotate it. So you're only rolling it a couple times each direction, and why I like parchment paper is because you can just rotate the parchment paper. And we're going to keep rolling it, and every so often you want to turn it over so it doesn't stick to the parchment paper. And we want to roll this very thin. We want about 1/8 of an inch thick. And every so often, make sure you peel it off the parchment paper so it doesn't stick. And if you need more flour, you have to dust on a little bit, but don't put a huge blob of flour. The more flour you add to it, the tougher it's going to be. You want your crackers to be nice and flaky, not tough and hard like cardboard. So if you add too much flour and work the gluten, which is the protein in the flour, it's going to come out tough. So we don't want that. Now while you're rolling, I like to try to aim for sort of like a rectangular shape, so that way I can cut out the crackers. I want to make sort of square size crackers. And if you have an area where this comes apart, you can just sort of overlap it and pinch it together. Once you have it rolled out, you can use a ruler and a pizza cutter. If you don't have a pizza, just a knife. And we want our crackers the thickness of the ruler. So you just line it like so. And then when you have them all done, then you can rotate it and cut so you get nice squares. If you want to make larger ones and do rectangles, you can do that as well. But for today, I'm just making these nice little squares because we want to be able to put use this to put cheese on. So we're cutting our crackers the width of the ruler and then 2 inches long. We're going to put them on our parchment-lined sheet pan, and then take the back of a fork and poke it. And just to give it a nice design, you get those 4 holes in the middle. When they bake, ta-da, this is how they look. So you're going to bake this for 14 minutes. at 300 degrees. Rotate the sheet pan halfway through and make sure you wait until you've got a nice golden brown color on the bottom. So I'm playing with the different shapes, and I decided I wanted to make a nice round one. And so here we have our fluted cookie cutter. And if you notice, when they bake, they reduce in size. So this is, so they shrink a little bit when they're baked. And we're gonna put them on our pans. And I like the forking it a little bit and baking it, but I wanted to compare it. I like this size and design as opposed to our rectangular crackers that we made. So that way, you know, I think this looks better if you're doing an hors d'oeuvre and you put in cheese on it. So that way, you can also make these bigger, you can make diamonds, you can make any shape you want. And this is a versatile dough. Lightly dusted flour on the parchment paper, rolled it out. You can use any type of rolling pin, but you do want to roll it really, really thin, okay? About 1/8 of an inch, and then cut them out. Bake them 300 degrees for 15 to 16 minutes. For more recipes, please click like and subscribe to Chef Victoria Loves YouTube channel and have fun in the kitchen. Thank you.